He's one of those idiots who believe in analytics.
Curry, way downtown, bang!
Hello and welcome to our new studio here at the GM's office. Today we're just going to get into some fantasy news. Of course, the NBA season just underway once again. My name is Liam and I'm joined by my host, Jared. Now, Jared, let's get straight into the big news of the day. DeAndre Ayton suspended for 25 games as he tested positive for the NBA drugs policy, of course, diuretics, they reckon. So this is a big blow for fantasy owners, probably a first round, second round pick for most leagues.
Yeah, massive surprise, especially because it was a number one pick in the league. And look, it throws your fantasy team into quite a frenzy right now. But Ayton's a guy that you definitely would be keeping, I'd say, Liam.
Yeah, there's a few guys who will benefit from his absence. No one that really sticks out. I think Dario Saric will get a little bit more of an uptick there. A really good source of three-pointers. I think Aaron Baines is a guy to keep an eye on. I mean, you know, throughout his career hasn't really been fantasy relevant, but if he does get close to 25 minutes a night, maybe he's a good source of rebounds. Is there anyone else who sticks out to you there?
I don't think so, Liam. But look, with Ayton, if you are worried about his form when he comes back, maybe it's possible you look for a trade, but at the same time, don't expect too much value.
Yeah, I think you've got a hold there. Not a lot you can get from a guy who's suspended for the next 2 months. Probably going to be back in the new year, we think. Well, there was also an injury yesterday from the Sacramento Kings. Now, we had the number one pick, of course, in Ayton. Now, the number two pick in Bagley is also set to miss some time, of course, from the 2018 draft. Marvin Bagley is out 4 to 6 weeks with a thumb injury. So this is a big blow. I mean, Bagley was a guy that we thought was a real chance at having a breakout season, and this is obviously a setback.
Definitely, and like he was possible to be a big steal in a lot of drafts, Bagley, and he probably was for a lot of people. And he had a decent game yesterday, but with the 6-week injury, it throws your team into a bit of a frenzy as well. But Liam, he's someone I'd still be keeping just because I think he holds value when he comes back.
Yeah, definitely. I think hold on to Bagley, absolutely. 4 to 6 weeks, not too much of a blow, but look, it's a little bit unclear here with Sacramento's rotation. I mean, how they will react to him going out. I think Nemanja Bjelica played a lot last season. He might be a guy who gets a bit of an uptick, but perhaps, Harrison Barnes moves up to that power forward position and we see Bogdanovic step in into the starting lineup as well.
Yeah, and we know Bogdanovic is a real good scorer when he gets going, and I think that might be a good move for the Kings.
Yeah, I think Bjelica is a guy you could keep an eye on as a streaming option. Well, let's get into our first segment today, buy or sell. Now, there's been a lot of big performances around the NBA throughout the first couple of seasons. We're going to get into what we buy and what we don't buy so far. So let's start off with none other than probably, Jared, the talk of the fantasy world, PJ Washington. 27 points, 7 of 11 from beyond the arc. He was unbelievable in his NBA debut.
Yeah, it's massive from PJ. Lottery guy, so it's not too much of a surprise that he's got the skill to do this, Liam. And I'd be buying PJ Washington. He's going to have probably the most upside out of these Charlotte guys that we're about to talk about. And the ball's going to be going to him a lot. Yeah,
he's a buy for me as well. I think, look, he's not going to go 7 of 11 from beyond the arc every game. We know that. But obviously he was coming into the season a real high upside guy, and he's turned out an unbelievable performance. I think he's going to have every opportunity to start, and definitely a guy who shouldn't be on any waiver wires in 10 leagues and 10-team leagues and above, I'd say. Let's stay with the Charlotte Hornets now. Dwayne Bacon, another player that was really good yesterday in that win against the Miami Heat. 22 points on 8 of 21 shooting. Really looks like a guy who settled into that shooting guard position.
Yeah, and a capable scorer from what we saw yesterday. If he can hit the 2 3-point makes along with the 20 points, it does make him really valuable for category formats, Liam. And I like Dwayne Bacon. He's been there for his second year this year, so he holds a lot more value than other guys on the Charlotte roster because they trust him with his role.
Yeah, I think Dwayne Bacon is also a buy for me. I do own him in a couple of my leagues as well. Let's just round out with one more Charlotte guy who took our eye yesterday against Miami, Devonte Graham. Now, he was also fantastic. 23 points and 6 of 7 from 3. So they were absolutely on fire from beyond the arc, the Hornets. Is this sustainable?
No, Liam. I think it's fair to say that this is Graham's ceiling for the season. If he's hitting 6 threes a game, that's massive. But I just can't see that happening on the regular, especially with Terry Rozier having a relatively quiet game yesterday. We know Rozier is going to have a lot of usage this season, and I expect his usage to affect Graham the most as he plays the guard position as well.
Yeah, of course, Devonte Graham, the backup point guard to the newly signed Terry Rozier. I agree. I think I'm selling this Devonte Graham stock as well. Although I would say keep an eye on him because, Rozier hasn't exactly been a prolific guard other than that one playoff run throughout his career. If he does struggle from the field, perhaps we see Devonte Graham get 25 minutes a night throughout the season. And, he won't hit 6 3-pointers every game, but he could be a fantasy relevant player. How about Luke Kennard from Detroit? Now, he's played twice already this season, of course, had a back-to-back. 30 points in the first game against Indiana, but then backed it up today against Atlanta and only had 13 points on 3 of 12 shooting. Are you buying or selling?
No, I'm selling Luke Kennard, Liam, and look, he was fantastic yesterday, and today he wasn't too bad either. 30 points yesterday, 13 today, but what worries me most about Kennard is that field goal percentage can drop down to really low standards. And look, in a normal points league, say the ESPN 1-1 league, he's pretty useless, but in a standards point league, just because his field goal isn't taken into account when it comes to deducting scores, he does hold a little bit more value, but still he's someone that's too patchy for my liking. Yeah,
I think he's a sell for me as well. I think, as you said, a little bit inconsistent, but in categories can be a good source of 3-pointers, as we saw yesterday when he hit 6. So Luke Kennard, a sell for us here. Let's go over to the Miami Heat now. Kendrick Nunn, now he hit 40 points in the last game of the preseason, and then got the start in the first, debut for the regular season. Put up 24. So Kendrick Nunn, are you buying his stock?
No, Liam, another one that I'm selling. And look, Kendrick Nunn looks like he's going to be starting at the 1 this year for the Miami Heat, but someone needs to make way for Jimmy Butler's production when he does come back. So I think Kendrick Nunn's hit his ceiling as well for the season. And look, it's great signs, but at the same time, he's a rookie, and he put up a lot of field goal attempts yesterday. Someone else is going to have to take that usage from him.
Okay, I'm actually going to zag here. I'm buying the Kendrick Nunn stock. What excites me about him is that Eric Spoelstra has said that he's set to start even when Butler comes back. So Tyler Hero probably going to go back to the bench in that kind of 6-man role. Look, I don't think we're going to see 24 points a night out of Kendrick Nunn, but nonetheless a guy that I think has breakout potential, if nothing else. How about, of course, Kobe White? Now, one of the exciting young rookies coming up. Had a good game in his NBA debut, 17 points and 7 dimes. What are you thinking about his fantasy potential?
I really like his potential this season, so definitely a buy for me. And Kobe White, he just looms as the new starter at the point guard position. Whether it takes 10 games, 15, 20, it's going to happen sooner rather than later. And yesterday he showed that he's going to have a bit of usage. He had the 13 field goal attempts and also had the 7 assists with the 17 points. So they're really good numbers, especially off the bench. Yeah,
I'm buying Kobe White stock as well. I think Thomas Satoransky was a little bit quiet in his Chicago Bulls debut yesterday. And while I think, he's a really good point guard option, I think clearly the future lies with Kobe White, and he will be given every opportunity to shine for Chicago this season. Now, we can't talk about a buy or sell segment and, huge notable performances without talking about, of course, Fred VanVleet. How unbelievable was he on opening night?
He was great, and he just continued his finals form from last year, Liam, and hit the career high 34 points. And I think he's a guy that I'm going to buy this season. He had the 18 field goal attempts yesterday, and that's a good sign that his usage is going to be way up. And he started as well. I don't know what his starting numbers were last year, whether he started a lot or not, but as a starter playing at the 1 or 2, good numbers are in line for him.
Yeah, certainly. I think I'm definitely buying Fred VanVleet stock as well. Look, he's not going to give us a career high in scoring every night. And look, he did play 44 minutes and the game went into overtime. But nonetheless, he's going to start there in the guard spot. We'll see 30 minutes a night out of him. I think he could be a potential breakout guy, Fred VanVleet. So I'm buying him. Let's talk about the guy who he's actually taken his spot in the rotation from last season. Of course, Danny Green, now with the Los Angeles Lakers, actually had the most points on Lakers' debut ever, defeating, or taking the old record held by Kareem with 27.
Yeah, that's a fun fact. You would have thought that would have been Anthony Davis. And look, Danny Green, he was massive, just knocking down threes from everywhere the other day. And I'm going to buy him, but pretty tentatively, Liam. I am worried about his consistency. He's going to have some shocking nights, but in categories, he's going to make you the 3-pointers that you need every week. and also some steals, which are handy. We know Danny Green's a fantastic wing defender, so I think those numbers will be nice, but I wouldn't expect too much from Danny Green.
This is a line ball call for me, but if I had to pick a side, I'm going to say sell. I don't think we're going to see 28 points very often from Danny Green. This might be his best performance of the year, but look, I do agree. He's going to be a great source of three-pointers made, so probably the most valuable in the categories format. Now, we've got one more to round us out for today's show. Josh Hart from the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, had a really good performance in his NBA debut for the season as well. Had a double-double, 15 points and 10 rebounds to go along with 3 three-pointers made. Are you buying or selling?
I'm selling, Liam. It's fair to say that rebounding amount was a massive outlier, especially when we look at his stats for the season. I don't think he's going to get many 10 rebounding games, Liam. And look, Josh Hart's always been a pretty inconsistent scorer off the bench. He's going to have big nights out, but I just can't rely on Josh Hart. Maybe in deep league formats he might be a valuable option, but if you're playing maybe a 12-team format, I just can't see him sealing the deal for you.
Yeah, it's a sell for me as well. I think I agree. The 10 boards is not sustainable for Josh Hart. Well, that's all we've got time for today on our first visual show of the GM's Office. I hope you've enjoyed the show. We are also available on Spotify and iTunes, so you can catch the podcast on those platforms as well. Thanks for listening.